Makes Me Wanna Holler by Nathan McCall. Chapter 7 Respect. Shortly before the end of summer vacation, some guys and I were playing baseball at the Cavalier Manor recreation field. When the game ended, I called out to Shane, who was preparing to leave. "Yo, Shane, give me a ride home, man." Shane had ridden his bicycle to the rec field, but I had walked. "I can't. I gotta get home before my parents get mad." Shane hopped onto his bike and rode away, pedaling so fast I couldn't catch him. A bunch of other guys were standing around when he pulled off. They looked at me pitifully. "Damn, man. He's supposed to be one of your hanging buddies, and he won't even give you a ride home. That's messed up." Another guy chimed in, "Yeah, he ain't shit." It really hadn't bothered me at first, but after they made such a big deal about it, I began to think that maybe Shane had disrespected me. No one actually said it, but the tone of those guys' comments suggested that the insult required some macho response. I had to react in front of the boys. "That's alright. I'm gonna fuck Shane up when I see him again." A few days later, Shane came onto my street to join in the baseball game. Everybody was out there. Lep, Turkey Buzzard, Chip, Frog, the whole crew. I stormed over to Shane and went into my Scooby D macho act. "Nigga, why didn't you give me a ride home the other day?" Shane tried to explain again. "I had to be home before dark, Nate. You could have still given me a ride. I had to walk all the way home because of you." I cuffed him in the collar and punched him in the face. Everybody stopped playing ball and crowded around to watch the rumble get underway. Seeing he had no choice, Shane prepared to throw down. He climbed off the bike, I punched him in the face again, and we got it on. After about 2 minutes into the rumble, I realized I had made a major mistake. I had pretty good boxing skills, but I had no idea Shane was as good with his hands as he turned out to be. That boy could hit. We battled in the street and worked our way into Greg's front yard. With everybody looking on, cheering, shouting, and coaching, we parried and wrestled and fought our way into the flower bed and shrubs. We were about even, blow for blow, when Shane backed me into a tall shrub and shoved me over. I flipped backward and landed face down. I sprang to my feet and we locked horns again, holding each other with one hand by the collar, pounding each other's faces, rapid fire with our free fists. At some point, my parents were alerted and came outdoors to break it up. Shane and I kept swinging wildly, trying to get in extra licks, even after they pried us apart. My stepfather asked my mother if he should let us continue. "They want to go at each other so bad," he said, "that they'll probably fight again if we don't let them get it over with." My mother studied me. I was dirty and sweaty and had a bloody nose. Then she looked at Shane, who had a swollen lip. While we awaited her decision, I prayed to the high heavens that she wouldn't let us continue. I didn't know how Shane felt, but I was exhausted. My arms were so weary from swinging that I could barely lift them. My knuckles throbbed from knocking against Shane's cement head. My face ached from the punishing blows I had absorbed, and I was winded. Actually, I was more shocked than tired. I busted Shane in the face with my best shots, and he simply responded with some shots of his own that were just as good. Clearly, my preference was to quit, but pride dictated that if my mother gave the word, I'd have to fight until one of us dropped. I panted hard, trying to catch my breath in case I had to go another round. Then Mama announced her decision. "Nah, don't let them fight anymore." She turned to Shane and me and said, "You two shake hands and make up. Shane, you go home, and Nathan, I want you to come inside the house." I was so relieved I could have kissed her on the spot, but there was an audience out there. I had an image to protect and a role to play. So I acted disappointed, like I was pissed off that my mother kept me from tearing off that nigga's head. When Shane got on his bike and started to ride away, I balled up my fist, pointed it threateningly at him and yelled, "It ain't over, nigga. I'm going to finish you off when I see you again." My mother smacked me in the head and shoved me indoors. When school started the following week, people were still talking about how hard Shane and I had rumbled. Cooter came over to me in class and said, "Yeah, man, I heard you and Shane were throwing down the other day." I went to my tough bag again. "Yeah, and I'm going to dust that nigga off when I catch him." The truth was, Shane never had to worry about me again. The last thing I wanted to do was tangle with him. He had won my complete respect. He proved he had heart and that he could rumble. I'm sure I won his respect too. We became good friends after that and never fought each other again. That happened a lot when two dudes locked horns. Each learned what the other dude could do with his hands, and both developed a mutual respect, especially if they nearly taken off each other's heads. The whole emphasis in the streets on being able to rumble was rooted in respect. For as long as I can remember, black folks have had a serious thing about respect. I guess it's because white people disrespected them so blatantly for so long that blacks viciously protected what little morsels of self-respect they thought they had left. Some of the most brutal battles I saw on the streets stemmed from seemingly petty stuff, such as Shane's unwillingness to give me a ride. But the underlying issue was always respect. You could ask a guy, "Damn, man, why did you bust that dude in the head with a pipe?" And he might say, "That motherfucker disrespected me." That was explanation enough. It wasn't even necessary to explain how the guy had disrespected him. It was universally understood that if a dude got disrespected, he had to do what he had to do. It's still that way today. Young dudes nowadays call it dissing. They'll kill a nigga for dissing them, won't touch a white person, but they'll kill a brother in a heartbeat over a perceived slight. The irony was that white folks constantly disrespected us in ways seen and unseen, and we tolerated it. Most blacks understood that the repercussions were severe for retaliating against whites than for doing each other in. It was as if black folks were saying, "I can't do much to keep whites from dissing me, but I damn sure can keep black folks from doing it." The guys on the street who got the most respect were those who had reps as crazy niggers. A crazy nigger was someone who had an explosive temper, someone who took flack from no one, man, woman, or child. He would shoot, stab, bite, or do whatever he could to hurt somebody who disrespected him. It was a big thing then to be considered a crazy nigger. We regarded craziness as an esteemed quality, something to be admired, like white people admire courage. In fact, to our way of thinking, craziness and courage were one and the same. So most guys in the street tried to establish a rep as a crazy nigger or a bad nigger. The epitome of the crazy nigger was Scooby D. There are crazy niggas and niggas who act crazy to build a rep. Scoob was a crazy nigga. Once, he got into a rumble in the cafeteria at Waters and tried to stab a guy with a fork. It was one thing to pull a blade on somebody, but stabbing somebody with a fork means a dude grabbed the first weapon he could find. That means he went blank. He went crazy. I was impressed when I saw that. Another time, Scoob went totally off when he and his boys were turned away from a house party in Cavalier Manor. He got so mad, he punched his fist through the glass storm door and cut his hand up so bad it was nearly severed from his wrist. After getting it sewn back up, Scoob's hand always dangled, kind of limp-wristed, but nobody dared suggest that it looked like a girl's. Everybody was tradition-bound to learn to shoot hoops. Those who could hawk ball were respected almost as much as those who could dress well, rap, and fight. Shortly after we moved to Cavalier Manor, my brothers and I erected a basketball goal in the backyard. Cats from our section came back there and we played feverishly, often deep into the night until we could hang on neighborhood courts. Each week during basketball season, the physical education teachers at Waters held intramural games in the gym after school. Everybody went to those games because Scoob, Kenny Banks, and all the other popular guys played on those teams. Most of the teams were really hoodlum squads, filled with hackers, but nobody cared about the mechanics of the game. It was a popularity thing. The weekday intramural games were exciting, but the real basketball was played weekends on the concrete court behind Waters in Cavalier Manor. That was the stage, the premier place that guys in the neighborhood went to showcase their athletic skills and go against the best among their peers, while throngs of guys looked on from the sidelines. The best players from all over the city came to Waters. It seemed that every male between the ages of 11 and 25, literally hundreds of them, went to the recreation field behind Waters to play or watch. I started going out there too, for the same reason many other dudes my age went, to look, learn, and be where the excitement was. The older guys stepped out there profiling their super clean all-stars. By then, everybody was wearing imitation silk underwear in matching colors. On a hot day in the summertime, a dude could wear a red silk sleeveless undershirt, leave his belt buckle unfastened, and let his pants droop low on his butt to show his matching boxer shorts. The older dudes looked slick in those because they had physiques. Some, the pure athletes, ran full court games from sunup till sundown. Others, the pure hoods, stood on the sidelines all day and talked trash to each other, passed around cheap wine, rolled dice, or harassed awestruck lames who had come out there to hero worship. Some guys wanted so badly to see what was going on with the old heads that they got too close to the action sometimes. Every now and then, one of the younger guys would get kicked in the butt or slapped in the head or body slammed by some fool hood showing off or trying to build a rep. Those pickup games at Waters were fierce. Often, arguments got started during heated games and fights broke out. The older guys fought over the least little thing. One guy checking another too tight or somebody calling foul. How you gonna call foul, man? Because, motherfucker, you hacked me. I didn't hack you, man. You just mad cause you losing. I'll tell you what, hack me again, goddammit. If the hack came, fists flew, and often onlookers were treated to brutal spectacles even more thrilled than the fabulous games being played. When guys from other parts of the city came to Waters to hawk ball, it was almost assured that there would be a good scrap before the day's end. I'd risk missing lunch and dinner waiting on some action to jump off when downtown boys came out there. The same scenario played itself out over and over again. Somebody from downtown would get into an argument on or off the court with somebody from Cavalier Manor. Somebody from either side would strike the first blow, then all hell would break loose. Scoob and his boys would be right there in the thick of it. The best way to guarantee respect was simply to be able to thump. Then, nobody disrespected you. If they did, they paid a price. Once a guy made somebody pay for disrespecting him, the word went out that he don't take no shit. Everybody else got the message, and it stuck. One dude who hung with Scoob and his boys earned his rep by breaking another guy's nose in a fight at Waters. I thought about that fight every time I saw him after that. Guys would say, "Don't fuck with him. He broke a nigga's nose." There was respect and admiration in their tone when they said things like that. I wanted that kind of respect. Everybody I knew wanted it. So we all worked on our nut games to earn our reps. We tried to learn various ways to hurt people, to fuck somebody up so bad it was remembered in the streets for a long, long time. We wrestled and slapboxed each other all the time, like gladiators preparing for some future war. I learned how to shoot cuffs, to tackle a man and bring him down. A deceptive move. It's done by faking the swing at the opponent's face, then diving to his ankles to snatch his legs from under him. No matter how big he was or how much he weighed, he'd go down if his cuffs were shot right. Then you could pin him on the ground and punch him in the face or stomp him 6 feet under. I learned how to jock slap a man, grab him by the head, and ram a knee into his face. That virtually guaranteed a bloody nose or a busted lip. Some of the serious thumpers found ways to literally use their heads. They cold-cocked dudes that they tangled with. They grabbed their man's head and butt him a few times. I saw a few guys get cold-cocked in fights and knocked unconscious. The best way to guarantee winning the Rumble was to double bank someone. Get several guys and gang up on them. Scoob and his boys were notorious for double banking. The fellas and I started doing it too, especially to white boys. One guy would shoot his cuffs and another would hit him high. He'd fall like a tree, then we'd dust him off. In my 8th grade school year, I also learned indirectly from Shane the importance of sneaking a man. One day after school, the fellas and I were watching a rumble near the intersection of Roosevelt and Cavalier Boulevards when we saw Shane coming up the street, surrounded by a group of people. As he got closer, I noticed red coloring around his mouth. It looked like he was eating a candy apple. When he reached us, I realized the red stuff was blood. We ran over to him. "Shane, what happened, man?" Before he spoke, he spit out a mouthful of blood. It turned out Shane had been selling wolf tickets, running off at the mouth to Don Moore, this guy at school, and got 4 of his front teeth knocked through the back of his head. Folks who had seen it told us later that Don got somebody to distract Shane, then blindsided him, knocking him cold. I realized from Shane's experience that it was critical to Sneaker Man to find some way to catch him off guard, because they had snuck Shane so well, he never got a chance to use his exceptional boxing skills. The concept of sneaking the man went against the grain of everything I'd been taught as a youngster about the honor of fighting fair. As I got older, though, fairness, honor, and all that other virtuous bullshit went right out the window. The object was to win and to do serious damage, like Don Moore did to Shane. The fight became legend in Cavalier Manor. It turned Shane into a tougher, smarter brawler and earned Don Moore a rep as an up-and-coming knockout artist. Respect dictated that Shane should get some get back, but he didn't even try. Everybody understood why. Don Moore was a crazy nigga, and it's hard to prevail against bona fide crazy niggas because they keep coming back until they win. I was sitting on the curb, shooting the breeze with the rest of my boys, when an old, scarred warrior named Horace Perry came bopping around the corner. Horace was 19, 5 years older than me, and widely respected on the block. He loved to fight, and it seemed that he got a special thrill out of going upside my head. As he approached, he fixed his evil, beady eyes dead on me. Seeing what was coming, the fella sitting near me got up and moved off to the side. I stiffened, stood up, and prepared to throw down. Without saying a word, Horace walked right up to me and swung wildly at my head. I threw up my guard, leaned to the side, and swung back, barely missing his face. Horace ducked, charged low into me, and shot for my cuffs. I backpedaled, throwing punches all the while, trying to keep that bull from grabbing me. Too late. Short, squat, and strong as an ox, Horace locked his huge hands around my skinny thighs, took my legs from under me, and rolled me down. We struggled, tussled, and rolled around on the ground until Horace wormed his way on top. After he pinned me, Horace smiled devilishly, reached down with his free hand, and pulled up a fistful of grass and dirt. Then, as all the fellas looked on, he stuffed it into my mouth. I clenched my teeth, spat, and bobbed my head, trying to avoid the grass and dirt he ground into my face. I shoved and heaved, but he was too heavy for me to push him off. Finally, when he was satisfied that he humiliated me, Horace Perry jumped up from the ground and ran playfully off to a safe distance, taunting and teasing. "Aha, I kicked your ass, you little motherfucker. Now what you gonna do?" There wasn't a whole lot I could do. I stood there with dirt in my face and blood in my eyes, spitting grass out of my mouth and wishing I was bigger, stronger, strong enough to put my foot up Horace Perry's ass. Instead, I just huffed and cursed at him. "Fuck you, Horace Perry." Horace turned and headed up the street, still laughing and making fun of me. As much as I hated chewing grass, I didn't get too mad with Horace Perry. In a weird way, I knew he had my best interests at heart. He actually liked me a lot. Older guys such as him often tried to toughen up young bloods they liked by beating up on them. They knew we needed to be hard in order to hang. They knew what we might face down the road, and they understood that if we couldn't take a jive beating every now and then, we'd never survive the serious thumpings that would come in time. We understood it too. So every time Horace Perry saw me, he forced me to fight him on sight. And every time I saw him coming, I prepared to throw down and give it my best. If I fought hard, I ate less grass. If I didn't fight hard, he'd continue stuffing grass and dirt until my mouth was full. Later, when I got bigger and older, there was no wrestling, and certainly no grass eating. When Horace Perry came onto the corner, We talked man to man. He gave up respect. He knew instinctively that school was out. The time for all that wrestling and carry on had passed. That was a rite of passage that all the old thugs understood because they had once been young too. I could usually measure the strength of my nut game by how well I fared in battle with Greg and my brother Dwight. Greg was tall and lanky and had long arms and quick moves. I was short and wiry and relied on fast hands to keep him at bay. We start off slapboxing playfully until inevitably he'd slap me silly with one of his quick moves. Then I'd get mad and want to fight for real. Greg, good spirit that he was, would run and laugh rather than knock me out. It was about the same with Dwight, only we fought for real more than we played. My brothers, Billy and Junie, refused to fight me. There was such a big age difference between them and me that they swatted me away whenever I pestered them. Dwight wasn't much bigger than me, but he was the better athlete. He was stronger and more skilled with his hands. Usually, whenever we fought, it didn't last long. I could never seem to take him, even when I snuck him or hit him with a stick. A kind of turning point for Dwight and me came one day when we started arguing about something in the house. There was nobody inside but him and me. When the argument reached a pitch, I hit him. We locked horns in the dining room and threw down, hard. We battled our way into the living room. He popped me in the eye like he normally did. What was different was the fury in which I fought back. I landed a couple of shots to his face that were so hard and clean they surprised me, so much so that I paused a moment to admire my work and left myself open to a barrage of punches that knocked me into the front room. It was summertime. The wood door was open wide. The storm door was closed, but we left the glass panes in rather than install the screens. I fell through the door, sending shards of glass flying everywhere. My mother happened to be sitting on the front porch talking with neighbors. When she saw me come flying through the glass door, all hell broke loose. She jumped up from her seat, came indoors, and TKO'd both of us. She confined us to the house. Although I lost that and every other rumble I had with Dwight, that particular fight was a symbolic victory for me. It served notice to him that the days of pity pat with little brother were over. There would be no easy wins from there on out. It was a cardinal rule on the block that a brother couldn't let himself be beaten by three groups of people: gays, girls, and white boys. Of the three, defeat at the hands of a white boy brought the most disgrace. If a dude let himself get beaten by a white boy, he was forever afterward identified by that dishonor. That's so-and-so. He let a white boy beat him. Everybody within earshot would sadly shake their heads as if so-and-so were the sorriest motherfucker on the face of the earth. I guess that's why I never told the fellas about what happened to me at Alfred J. Mapp, that white junior high school I briefly attended. Even though those white boys doubled and triple banked me, it didn't seem like the brothers would sympathize. So as far as the public record was concerned, I was undefeated when it came to fighting white boys. I was about 30-0. All the fellas went undefeated because we double banked. We all hated white people. The fellas and I never talked about specific things they'd done to us, but we instinctively knew that each of us had been through bad scenes with white folks before, so we took it out on white boys. After we reached the 9th grade and were sent to the mostly white Woodrow Wilson High School across town, we fucked up white boys more than we went to class. We walked through secluded areas of the building after classes on Fridays. When we came upon a white boy, somebody would light into him, then everybody else would spring and we'd do him in. One day, we double banked the guy standing at his locker in the area where the woodshop classes were held. We walked as if we were going to pass him. Then Lep hauled off and punched him in the face. Then I popped him in the mouth. He fell back and slammed his head into the lockers. Before I could hit him again, somebody else hit him with a barrage of punches that sent him crashing to the floor. We kicked him in the face and stomped him until blood squirted everywhere. After school, we ran out the side door and went home. I saw that white boy in school about a week later, walking down the hall. Lep nudged me and pointed him out. He had his arm in a sling, and bandages taped to the bridge of his nose. I snickered and told Lep we fucked him up good. I knew my heart was hardening. In fact, I wanted it to harden so I wouldn't get scared or feel weird inside when we did crazy things like that. I didn't want anybody to see me equivocate. I think some of the other guys felt the same way, but no one said anything. No one wanted to be called a chump. When we couldn't get to white boys, we gang wrestled amongst ourselves or took on dudes from other parts of the neighborhood. If a group of guys our age happened to walk past our corner, we challenged them to match their force against ours. Nah, man, y'all can't just walk past our corner any old kind of way. This is our block. You got to give up some respect when you walk by here. They might say, fuck you and your corner. Then we get it on, pretending to be gangbangers fighting a war. All that rumbling we did in those early days was dress rehearsal for things to come. Respect was incomplete until we had proven ourselves in the serious throwdowns with downtown boys. Scoob and his buddies were always battling downtown boys, and we expected to pick up the mantle when our time came. We prepared by honing our skills and rumbling hard, but it wasn't long before we gave up fist fighting for guns.